Hi there, I'm doing some knife sharpening today, and I'm about to do this Yoshimi Kato santoku that is done in R2 stainless steel. It's a very thin, very thin knife. This is definitely in the what's known as the laser category. And it's an incredible knife. I maintain this one regularly. Anyway, I think it's just so cool. I thought I'd simply press record and do my normal amount of rambling while I do a little knife sharpening. This will not be a knife sharpening tutorial. I do have one of those that I plan to do. But the method that I'll show with that is different than the one I normally use. So I'm not gonna, don't consider this to be a knife sharpening tutorial. The edge on this is pretty beaten up. You wouldn't be able to see it. But the edge is pretty beaten up on this knife. So I'm gonna go to a 500 sharpen glass, 500 grit sharpen glass. And I'm going to simply remove the edge, and then I'm going to find the edge and then move back just a little bit because I'm going to do something called thinning behind the edge. And the purpose of this is to do the equivalent of what you do with a straight razor if you allow the razor to wear at the edge. So what this does, by thinning behind the edge, what I can do is to try to maintain the original bevel angle or sharpening angle and bevel angle. And so this may look familiar, this stroke. If you've watched any of my razor hunting videos, this may look familiar to you. The difference here is, as I mentioned before, let's see if we have a burr. Oh yeah, we do. That's more of a burr than I wanted. Yeah, this I use pretty much the same procedure wherever. With whatever I do, I want to hone a little, test a little. Now with knives, I've been doing knives for such a long time and I've done thousands of sharpenings. So with knives, I can get away with doing a lot by feel, but I do test. I do test with paper. So I can get away with a lot by feel. But that took a long time to develop. Let's see how we're doing. All right, so we were behind the edge, but we didn't move the edge. Then also a common thread here, I'm on the 500. I want all of the shaping of the edge to occur here. From here on out, I'll jump to the 200, and then I'll go to the 4,000, and then I'll do an 8,000. This knife can support very high levels of refinement. Normally with a kitchen knife, you wouldn't go above 2K. It's just not necessary. I mean, these things take a beating. Okay, let me check again. There we go. Not a lot of movement there. Let's let's go back here. Well, I can feel that I'm cutting. And so this is what I do. I kind of work my way into this. I do it by feel. So what I'm trying to do is the same thing I'm trying to do with a razor. I want a nice, even bevel. I'm sorry, a nice, even apex that flows along this whole edge. And I want that apex to be under the center line of the spine. And the way to get that is to similar to with a razor, the way to get that is to both notice, well, I tend to do it with knives by feel, but you can also notice how the slurry moves on the stone. Now, another thing that you'll notice with knives, I don't use as much slurry as I do with razors, although I do sometimes use slurry. All right, so let's see how we're doing here. So what I'm doing here is both trailing edge strokes, but mostly deburring. If you're wondering from a pressure standpoint, same idea as with razors. I have enough pressure to have good contact between the edge and the stone, and then with that pressure, I try to maintain that pressure most of the time. And then with that pressure, I simply just let the abrasive do the work. All right, let me test this here. Let me give this a feel. First of all, I'm feeling for burr. I got a little burr right here. Everywhere else is good. Little burr right there, so I'm gonna work that section. Work the other side. Still, nope, gone. It was tiny as I thought. Okay, go back to feeling the edge. To be consistent, I generally, it doesn't really matter, but to be consistent, I like to do all of my edge feeling when the edge is dry. Okay, so at this point, this edge should cut paper easily, and as you can see, it does. Before it did not, by the way, but we want it to dig in right at the heel easily. Oops, yeah, you can see that. And then simply go through the paper easily. So this tells me, first of all, you can't feel it, but I can. The feel of the knife going through the paper is even on both sides. That tells me the edge is right under the spine. And if there was any anomaly, if the edge went in or out in this direction, then it would kind of hang up as it went through the paper. But that went through smoothly, as you could see. So let's move on to the 2K. And from here on, we're just going to be refining. This is an Atoma 140. I use this primarily for flattening, but if I have to do any, if I decide to do any reshaping by hand and not on a belt sander, then I'll typically do my reshaping on this stone. And I've been doing reshaping by hand for a while, so I can knock it out pretty quickly. I don't get razors that are in bad condition these days. Razors. I don't get knives that are in bad condition these days. You can see where my focus is. All right. Gonna put light slurry, and then we'll get going here. Well, R2 is also called SG2, the steel. That's the steel of this razor, and I don't remember who's who, but there's one steel company in Japan that makes R2, and they supply that steel to another company in Japan, and that company labels it using their own product code, and that's SG2. So whenever you see this steel, you almost always see it labeled R2 SG2, same steel. And this is, as I said before, it's a stainless steel, fairly simple. It has, again, if memory serves, it has fairly high chromium content, something on the order of, I don't know, 16% maybe. Just so you know, 13% is kind of the borderline of the amount of chromium that you need to make the steel considered to be stainless. And so above 13% is guaranteed that this steel is stainless. And there are other qualities that the chromium adds, and I no longer remember what that is. Okay, so let's so when I teach this, I won't be using both hands. I'll show you how to do this with your dominant hand. Let's go for a clean slate. Okay, no burr. Burr free. Tiny burr. And now, no burr. Pretty daggone sharp. Okay, let's do some deburring, and this is a stropping motion. So in addition to deburring, this does do some edge shaping. Now what I'm doing now on this stone is following this set that I made on the last stone, and I did not do that slowly. So instead of writing, let's see if there's a way to show this. Oh, there's just no way to show this. There's a, see if there's a way. Yeah, the bevel's pretty thin, but you can see the bevel there. And you just have to take my word for it that what I've done is to back up a little bit in this direction and widen the bevel, and then I'm now following the new edge that I created. It's so thin that this is definitely a do it by feel sort of thing. And I'm not trying to widen a lot. This is really just a little bit of pressure, in this direction on the 500, because I know that taking the wear off has shortened the knife in width. And so I don't want an already thin bevel to get thinner and wider. All right, let's see how we're doing here. Okay, I'm not feeling any burr. Not feeling any burr. Let's test this dry. Probably time to move on. Yep, that's real nice where it should be. Super, super sharp right where I am here. And that's just maintained. So that's very even. It takes a while to get used to feeling an edge, you know, to really understand what you're feeling. You can see there's your, that it went through like a knife through paper, like a knife through butter. Okay, it's time to move on. Let's move to the 4K. Oh, that was the 2K. Let's move on to the 4K. And we'll be doing the same thing here. The goal here, we already have our shape, we already have our edge. We're now polishing. And oops, we need to. Yeah, we're definitely now polishing. I'm going to raise a small slurry here, and then I'm probably going to wash that off. Synthetic stones don't need a slurry. I kind of like to use one in the initial stages, primarily to have a bit of a cushion on the stone for the knife to ride on. Let me get this off. All right, back to square one. Yeah, so this is polishing, and I'm being careful to, at first, make sure I can really feel that I'm on both the bevel, and that I'm not going overboard on the edge. It's very, very easy to go too far, and then you sort of stand on the edge that you're trying to build. That's obviously not a good thing. That's not what you want to do. Same thing here. I'm gonna start slowly, get the feel. When you start doing knives, freehanding knives, you will undoubtedly put your fingers too low on the knife, and you'll have a session where you're practicing, and what you'll find is you've got some raw fingertips. So if you do that and then go to play guitar or something, you'll be in a world of hurt. Ask me how I know. Okay. Very good. I'm not feeling much of anything here. Back to doing trailing edge. Gonna really do this on a stone without any slurry on it. One of the cool things about these Shapton glass stones is the binder really polishes well. I don't anymore, but I used to do quite a bit of mirror edge polishing, or mirror edges on collector knives, and surprisingly, these stones are just absolutely great for that, especially this stone and above. So I'm going to go from this stone to 8K. I'll try to show you. Try to show you this bevel after I finish with the 4K, and then I'll try to show it to you after the 8K. I kind of doubt, but we'll see. I kind of doubt you'll be able to tell much difference. Okay, let's check to see where we are. And there you go. There you go. You can kind of see it's thin, so see if the camera will focus. Not super great. Anyway, it is now hella sharp. So we should be able to push cut. That's a step up when you can push cut. And we have these nice, beautiful, clean cuts in paper. I hate this paper. I used to have better paper. I know that sounds ridiculous. This is 1970s yellow pages, and the best paper I've ever come across for testing sharpness is 1970s white pages. It's thinner, more fragile, more difficult to cut cleanly in both with the grain. These have a grain, so the grain runs like this. I'm sorry, the grain runs up and down like this. And so when you cut like this, you're cutting with the grain, and it has to get to a certain level of sharpness to the point where you can push cut through the grain. This is easier to do both. This yellow pages is easier to do both than the white pages were, but there's a limited supply of 1970s Washington, D.C. or Baltimore white pages, and I seem to have run out of them. I thought I had a lifetime supply, but the answer to that is no, I didn't. All right, let me grab the 8K. All right, we're back. I'm going to do the same thing that I did on the 4K. Start with a tiny bit of slurry. And then get rid of that. So most people do not prefer to do this ambidextrously, and from a sharpness perspective, I don't actually think it's necessary. The reason I do it literally has to do with polishing. If you use this motion, if you use symmetric, if the scratch pattern is symmetrical, then the polish, if you're polishing bevels, which again, that's not important for this knife, but if you're polishing bevels, then I found that it looks better. It looks more consistent. If you look at the mirror on one side of the knife and then flip the knife over, the quality of the mirror finish looks the same if you create those finishes like this. And so that's why I do it. Coordination wise, what am I doing? I'm putting the knife down, I'm finding the edge, I'm kind of locking everything in, and then I'm moving back and forth. So, were you to try this, that's all there is to it. And really, there's not much to sharpening knives on stones. It's basically go back and forth. The kind of tricky part is being real consistent with holding your angle and knowing how to get away with wobbling. Because there's no matter what I do, I'm locked in. My wrist is locked in. I've got a lock between my index and thumb on the knife. So I'm locked pretty far, and I've got a lot of sensitivity on my thumb and forefinger here to kind of tell me what's going on. But the mechanics of moving this way, this arm is pretty parallel to the table, but there's no getting around that as I move out, there's going to be a slight imperceptible to me movement like that. And as I pull back, there's going to be a slight imperceptible to me flattening of the razor. And so the trick is to have enough practice at this that you can kind of get away with that. What that does is to create a convex bevel, and that's actually a mechanically stronger bevel than a flat one. And so and it's not. This is what we would call, an apple seed edge. It's a very, very tiny convex. Okay, and here I am definitely using more feel and less pressure than I was before. But when I say less, I don't mean a lot less. I mean just slightly less, so that I have more feel in both hands of what's happening at the apex as I do this. Okay, let's see where we are. Do a touchy-feely here. Oh yeah. Ooh, almost cut myself there. Okay, that's rinsed off. A little bit more water, and let's do some deburring and trailing edge, drawing out, deburring. at the same time. What I'm seeing, and I don't know whether you are, now you're not even seeing, I don't think, any glistening, but this has now become very mirror-like. The tiny bevel that's on here is now very mirror-like. Okay. That was fun. So let's make sure I have not. And this happens occasionally, where I end up taking the edge backwards. But it feels pretty friggin' amazing. Yeah. Well, I can already tell you this edge is. So let's see if it passes the packing peanut test. Yeah, it's just easily pushing into the peanut. Easily pushing into the peanut. I don't normally do this test with knives because a knife does not need to be that sharp. This one's pretty darn sharp though. All right, so where are we here? You always need paper. So we'll do our with the grain slice. The other thing that's good to do is to pay attention to the sound. As the knife gets sharper, your paper cut will become more of a whisper. So let's see if this will pick up. And then we'll do a push cut just to make sure we can. Okay, so we're done on the stones. Now it's the last step. Let me do a little cleaning. And we'll pull in the big guns. So the 8K is 1.48 micron sized, or 1.5, let's round up, 1.5 micron abrasive. And so, yeah, and so the 4K was about twice the size of that abrasive, and the 2K was about twice the size of the 4K. So what I'm going to be doing, hold on. Is going to a bench strop that is, this particular bench strop is horsehide, and it's loaded with 0.75 micron something or other. I think it's diamond emulsion. I think that's what's on here. As you can see, this is fairly heavily, it's been used. So this is where I finish. This is a deburring thing, and since it's a loaded strop, it's also doing a little bit of final cleanup on the edge. I am just gliding the edge on. Oh yeah, you might have gotten you might be getting an occasional glimmer of the, here in this direction. Let's see. Yeah, I think you're getting a little glimmer of the bevel. It's super shiny at this point. And really the purpose of this is not to add, I've done all the sharpening I'm going to do, and the purpose of this is really just dislodging any burr that might be still on the at the apex. And as with razor sharpening, an advantage of not using too much pressure is that you don't create huge burr. So the downside of that is if you have, the smaller burr is harder to detect by feeling for it. So, but you can learn over time. You can learn how to do that. All right. You'll notice not a ton of stropping. I mean, with a razor, I would probably do, 25 and 50, 25 on linen and 50 on 50 on leather. But here, I didn't count. I sort of do it by feel. This is blazingly sharp. The test, I'll get another piece of paper, but the test won't be anything different than what you saw before. But, this is a good use for 1970s yellow pages. So you can hear, hopefully, how silent that is. And it goes through smoothly. That's what you want. And here's our push cut. So that's it. I just thought, again, the star of the show here is this Kato. I think it's a super cool knife, and I thought I'd show it to you. Anyway, that's it. Thanks if you watched. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next one.